Tenebrous Tingles.
Hello, and welcome back to Tenebrous Tingles, where the shadows whisper and the past does not seem to let go. And we're here to tell you the stories. So, Zandi, what did you come up with for Colorado?
So I'm going to be doing the Stanley Hotel. It is in Estes Park, Colorado. And what about you, Eve?
I chose a couple of things because I'm just generally indecisive, and there were so many interesting stories that I could find in Colorado. The first one, I think my favorite, is a story from Buckskin Joe, and I also have some from the Strader Hotel.
Okay, so we both got hotels this time.
We both have hotels, and Buckskin Joe is actually an abandoned mining town.
It's not a person.
Both. So, uh, Buckskin Joe was a gold mining town. It sort of sprung up and then just disappeared as quickly.
Like Roanoke disappeared, or
No, like they have a whole explanation. They know what happened. But yeah, we're gonna talk about Roanoke when that state comes up. That's another one of my obsessions.
oh, okay.
There was a tourist attraction that I think a lot of people are probably familiar with. It was a replica of the ghost town from 1957 to 2010. It's been closed since 2010, and it was not in the original location. It was just sort of based on it. The original ghost town was founded in 1859 during the Pikes Peak Gold Rush, and it was called Lorette at first. It later became known as Buckskin Joe after a Canadian gold prospector moved there from Canada. His name was Joseph Higginbottom. He wore buckskin clothing, if not all the time, at least frequently enough to be known for it, for his nickname. That's what they called him. And apparently he was well liked because they started to call the whole town Buckskin Joe.
That's kind of cute.
It's adorable. It was a really flourishing town. It had thousands of residents and even became the Park County seat, which is where all the county officials meet to conduct their business between 1861 and 1866. So it was an important place for that time.
Cool.
The gold discoveries that had at one point brought everybody together to build the town started to run out, and the town was mostly abandoned by 1866. Today, only the cemetery remains. There were some ruins of the original buildings, but it looks like even those today are no longer standing. They've just, all come down. But you can still see the cemetery. So the story that comes from there that I really liked was about Silverheels. Silverheels was a dance hall girl there. And unfortunately, I could not find her real name. There were no marriage, property, or court records in Park County that list her under the name Silverheels. It was common practice for dance hall ladies to use stage names or aliases. And with her real name not being recorded anywhere, it looks like she just took that with her. Or well, not recorded anywhere with the name Silverheels next to it. So we don't know. But there are many accounts of this young woman living in Buckskin Joe during the early 1860s. While the local papers had mentions of Buckskin Joe, there were no stories that were clearly about her or that clearly mentioned her, which kind of makes sense for the time period and the location and her profession. Like, I don't really see her making it into a newspaper with those things going on.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Local historians and museums tell her story, and Mount Silverheels started to appear on local maps in the 1860s, which all kind of tracks with this legend. She was described as having dark features, possibly of Spanish or Mexican descent, and she had the reputation of just being very beautiful. But I mean, she's a dance hall girl, so I think maybe you had to be. I think that was a job requirement. The nickname came from the way that the silver sparkly shoes she wore on stage caught the candlelight when she was dancing. And she had a reputation of being beautiful, graceful, and kind in a place where, you know, it was just a kind of a rough place. In the early 1860s, there was a really sudden outbreak of smallpox. At that time, it was deadly for about 30% of the people infected, and those who did survive were left with scars and sometimes blindness. And that statistic is taken sort of overall from that time period. That's not taking into account the location. They were out in the West. So the medical care, was probably not the same as maybe on the East Coast at that point. It is highly contagious and it spread through the town really quickly. People got scared, understandably, and families just picked up and left like overnight. Miners deserted their claims, which is sort of a big deal. Buckskin Joe was very nearly empty quickly, just all of a sudden. So the people who were left behind were the sick and the dying, basically the people too weak to leave, or maybe the people that weren't taking it seriously. I don't know. And Silverheels, she made a conscious choice to stay. She wasn't sick, but she chose to stay behind to help those in need. And legend says that she nursed the sick, she cleaned their sores, she fed them broth, like she nursed people. And she comforted the dying for weeks in this misery that was left behind by this sweep of illness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really kind, sacrificial. She sounds like a really loving person. I wish I could have found out more about her as a person rather than, just this beautiful sacrifice that she made.
So she got sick too?
Well, that's one of the theories. We don't actually know.
Oh.
Yeah. The outbreak did finally pass. And of course, there were survivors. And, after kind of the smoke cleared and everything settled down, they went to find Silverheels to thank her. Like they hadn't seen her around. People had gotten better. Things were trying to pick up and go back to normal. And they wanted to reach out to her and pay her back. They couldn't find her anywhere. Her house was found abandoned, although reports say that it was clean. She left a clean house behind. I don't know if that means cleaned out as if her belongings were gone or clean as if she was a tidy housekeeper. But her slippers were left conspicuously behind. So it kind of tracks with it being cleaned out. And like I envision it being cleaned out and the only thing left are her slippers. And nobody ever saw her again.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
kind of sad.
it is sad. But there's the possibility that good things happened. So the theories, they kind of vary. And I found 3 theories about what happened, possibly about her disappearance. And we'll start with like the saddest and go to the happiest.
Okay.
The first yeah, the first theory is that she died of smallpox. There are oral histories that say she caught the disease herself after weeks of, really intense exposure, obviously, while caring for others and died alone in hiding. So that one's kind of the saddest. But would she have left her shoes sitting behind in a clean house?
I mean, if you're sick, are you going to wear your dance shoes?
You don't wear dance shoes when you're sick?
I don't wear shoes if I can help it.
I'm just saying, you don't want to dress up to make the vomiting fancier?
No. No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Okay, well then fine. Another theory is that she survived, but she was disfigured by the smallpox scars. And there were a lot of stories told about how she lived, but she was so marked by the disease that she had caught caring for people that she left town in shame, choosing exile over pity.
Oh, I don't love
I
that.
know. I know. I don't love that either. But again, if she was, she was obviously reported to be very beautiful. And so yes, there may have been some vanity, but I don't imagine her as a vain person because she stayed behind to help in an epidemic of sickness that she knew could scar her. I'm not sure how much vanity she would have to be like, I can't be seen if I am not beautiful anymore.
Yeah, I don't like that one. No, that one doesn't.
So that one doesn't fit. Obviously, I'm going to pick the happiest one as the one that I like anyway. But those things, like, they legitimately don't fit with what we've seen of her character so far. Because if she was truly that concerned about being seen in a specific way, I don't know that she would have stayed and risked her beauty in the way that she did. It doesn't seem like she was thinking about it. And I don't love the thought of her being ashamed, especially in front of people who she had nursed back to health. They would have no reason to view her with pity.
Right? Yeah, that doesn't. It just doesn't. I don't feel it.
Yep. But the last theory is that she just left. Buckskin Joe was a transient town. Everybody was, kind of transient. So she may have decided that she had done what she needed to do and left under a new name to start over somewhere else.
I have a better theory.
Ooh, what's your theory?
Maybe she nursed somebody and they fell in love and they ran away together to get married.
I like that one the best.
I just made it up.
It's better than what they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I like I
So
like
that's the new theory.
new
Is
theory.
that she fell in love and they lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
She left a mystery behind and it lingered with the people there. Strange things started happening that were attributed to her, which, don't fit the last theory or the theory that we discussed where she lived happily ever after with her patient. Although that one's pretty good.
Yeah.
Miners claimed to see a veiled woman dressed in black and carrying flowers drifting between the graves at dusk in the Buckskin Joe Cemetery. There was a pale figure seen along the tree line right next to the cemetery. Um, she was seen regularly and she would spook the horses. Those who told that story claimed that they saw silver slippers, flashing in the twilight. And legend also has it that gentle knocks are heard on the door of homes where illness has fallen, but nobody's there when you go to answer. Those things are attributed to Silverheels, and the town doesn't exist anymore. So, if you go, you can see the cemetery, but no more town. So, people do go to the cemetery to see if they can see the walking figure or, the person at the tree line. Now, the door thing, it's like neighboring areas that have claimed they hear knocks on the door when someone in the house gets sick, which is kind of sweet.
Yeah, maybe she went away somewhere else to go get her nursing license.
Maybe. There's a mountain nearby, I already referenced it, called Mount Silverheels. And it wasn't called that until, it started showing up in Colorado maps locally at first. And then now it's during this time period, like after she disappeared. And they named that in her honor as a lasting tribute to a kind woman who stayed to help when everybody else ran. It was considered a sacrifice, and she was honored for it during a time when women of her profession were often forgotten or honestly held in contempt. She is still remembered with fondness. There are still graves from that epidemic in the Buckskin Joe Cemetery, and silver trinkets or coins are left there in homage to her. So people still go there today to leave little bits of silver for Silverheels.
That's cute.
It's very sweet.
Because she likes sparkly shoes.
Right? Who doesn't? Who doesn't need a little bit more glitter in their lives?
You.
I found glitter hairspray, and honestly, it made me so happy.
Did you buy it?
Well, of course. Of course. It's a regular staple in my beauty routine now.
Excellent. I'm here for it.
And there were some other stories from Buckskin Joe, but they were a little bit gruesome. I chose to just pick my favorite, and it was Silverheels.
What do you mean gruesome?
There were a lot of hotels too. What?
What do you mean gruesome?
I mean, like a skeleton that kept showing up in various places, and like it just refused to stay buried. Don't include this. I didn't want
No,
to.
I love
I
it.
don't
Tell
want to do.
me. I like it. Tell me about it.
I don't have that research with me because I wasn't gonna do it. But okay. So a resident. See, I don't have his name in front of me because I wasn't gonna do it. But I mean, I can tell you the basic story. I did research it enough.
Yeah, tell me the basic story.
I'm not doing that, but I guess I am doing it.
You are.
He was apparently just very fond of the ladies there, regardless of their marital status, of their age, of whether or not they wanted him around. Like, he was just very persistent in his affections. And the legend has it that he died while he was hiking to pick flowers for his latest hopeful girlfriend, for who he was hoping would be next, and he fell and died.
Oh.
Right, and so he was buried, and that was the end of it, except it wasn't. So there's two versions, and one version just starts showing up, the skeleton just starts showing up on the porches of the ladies that he had particular fondness for, like on one woman's front porch, on another woman's bed, like just the skeleton was there. Another woman, like she had poor eyesight and she was cooking and realized that the bones that she put in her soup were not what she thought they were. Which I mean that one is a little bit extreme. I hope that's
Yeah,
not true.
That will put you right off of soup forever.
Yeah, for sure. And the other version of the story is that they were living in an area that maybe wasn't so respectful. The humor was a bit darker because, things were harder there, and that's just how it works out.
Yeah.
And so some of the rowdier men dug up the skeleton and put him in the local bar so he could watch over card games and just generally be gross. And so the sheriff finally was like, that's enough. Stop it. And was asking them to rebury it. But after that, it kept showing up. So maybe they're both kind of mixed together, but it was told as like two separate bits. In both of those stories, though, basically what happened is that since it wouldn't stay buried, the men of the town decided that the only way to end this terrorism of skeletal wandering was to leave the bones in an outhouse. And so the very disrespectful end to this poor man was that he was put in an outhouse.
Just let him hang out in the bar. Jeez.
Yeah, that one wasn't my favorite. Silverheels was so much better.
Yeah, sorry. Insatiable curiosity, you know how it is.
Yes, I do. I have more curiosity than self-preservation, honestly, as you know from most of my relationships.
I do know. As I know for the umpteen million years that we have been friends, yes.
Yeah. You're like, why did you do that? That was so obviously dumb. I'm like, I really just wanted to know what would happen. So I also found a hotel. There were so many hotels to choose from that claim to have really interesting ghost stories. But since I discovered Morris, the cat, my criteria has changed when I look for hotel stories. It's got to have a cat because we love the kitty cat ghosts.
We do.
The Strader Hotel was built in 1887 by Henry Strader, a pharmacist who wanted to combine a pharmacy with a hotel. And it changed hands many times over the years, starting with a bankruptcy in 1893. But if you look at pictures, it is beautifully built on the outside. It's got a gorgeous backdrop of scenery, and it is decorated with handmade woodwork, vintage wallpaper, and Victorian walnut antiques everywhere. The guest rooms used to have their own wood burning stoves in them. They don't now, obviously, but they do have modern bathrooms, so that's nice. They had an
Yeah, that's an
right,
improvement.
but they had an indoor bathroom system, but it wasn't indoor plumbing, and that was really like forward thinking for the time. I'm glad that there's indoor plumbing now because the way they described it, I was like, that still doesn't sound that great. There are 88 rooms, and each one of them is decorated differently, so they all look unique. They have actual antiques. Even the drapes are historic. So if you're listening and you think, "Oh, I want to go there," if you have kids, I wouldn't. I wouldn't because you'd be spending the whole time going, "Don't touch anything." That would be terrifying. There have been famous guests, of course, including President Gerald Ford, Will Rogers, Louis L'Amour, and the astronauts from Apollo missions. Maybe not all the astronauts, but some of the astronauts from Apollo missions. It has hosted concerts, diplomatic meetings like the Sixth Transatlantic Treaty meeting, and it's been a part of other culturally important events over its history. So it just kind of establishes that it's been there for a while and it's been important to that area. What I thought was really interesting is that this is one of the few hotels, especially nowadays, that doesn't lean into the lore to book rooms. The current owners claim they have never seen anything. They've even quoted in the Durango Herald, the newspaper there, the only spirits are in the Diamond Bell. The Diamond Bell is the hotel bar. In fact, as part of the job, staff are directly instructed not to disclose personal paranormal experiences should they have them. Why do you have to tell somebody not to disclose something that may not happen?
Yeah, exactly. That's a little hinky.
That's interesting. But still, the stories persist. They show up in shared stories from guests. And even in the room diaries, guests write down their experiences with quote unquote resident ghosts.
What kind of resident ghosts?
So I'm going to start with my favorite, of course, the cat.
Morris?
He's not Morris, and this one didn't even have a name.
Ah, brood.
I know, I know. If you get to stay on the third floor, local legends say that a ghost cat roams there. Several of the guests have reported feeling a cat jump onto their bed. They've heard disembodied purring, like next to their face, or they've seen movement around their ankles when there's no pets present. It's a very friendly ghost kitty.
I love
Unfortunately, it
that.
is unconfirmed. It's basically word of mouth. It's been in the diaries. It's been repeated many times, but this sweet ghost is really just not as known as some of the others. And it's unknown if it was a pet, if it was a stray, or just kind of the active imaginations and wishful thinking of a collection of people. I would still like to try the next time I'm in Colorado to see if I end up with a ghost kitty in my bed.
I think that's a laudable thing to do.
I guess we can talk about the people now.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, they're not as fun as the kitty.
Mm-mm.
But there is one known as the Lady in White, and she regularly appears mostly on the fourth floor. She's been seen a lot. She's wearing a white or a very pale colored Victorian era dress. And she's more like an echo. She just sort of walks up and down the hallways. It is believed that this apparition is Hattie Mashburn, who was the co manager of this hotel during the 1890s, during a time when single women didn't have the options usually to manage things. They didn't have a lot of options for respectable employment. So this was a big deal. She's kind of inspirational just on her own. It is believed to be her because when she was alive, she would often walk through the fourth floor because that's where the maids and the waitresses were living. And she would be up there to supervise what was going on.
Makes sense.
It makes sense. And, she's kind of a cool figure to learn about. So there have been sightings of a man on the railroad tracks next to the hotel. Some say that he's waiting for a train, but others say it was a worker who had a really terrible accident. And they claim to hear him calling for help. It was a brakeman who got caught in between cars, and he did not die in that accident, but he lost his legs. It was a bad accident, and they claim that they can hear him saying things like "my legs, help me, my legs."
Oh,
Yeah, which is really sad.
yeah. It's awful.
Yeah. So there are also footsteps and disembodied voices that guests and employees over the years have reported, as well as the sightings of shadowy figures in hallways or rooms. And there's a lot of orbs caught in photographs. I think my favorite was there's a photo taken. It was a group of people in the Diamond Bell Saloon, and there is a woman standing behind them that wasn't there. It's a ghost woman standing behind them, just photo bombing. So maybe Hattie was just joining in the fun. I mean, it's her hotel. She can be in the picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
And another thing that I thought was interesting, it's not necessarily spooky, but there are time capsules spread throughout the hotel. Supposedly something like
What do you mean?
they they purposely put things to be found, and they're finding them during the renovations. And there's supposed to be like 15 to 18 of them. Some of them have been placed more recently, like during a remodel, as they're finding things. They're like, oh, we found what's in this time capsule. We're going to replace it with our own.
Oh, that's cool.
It is cool. They vary in size from being very small. One of them is said to be 3 by 5 feet, so, fairly big. The ones found so far have contained Prohibition era candy and shadow boxes that someone made about just what life was like at that time. And the ones that they found, you can see them in the hotel lobby.
That is very cool.
It is super cool, but there's not really been an explanation about, like, nobody wrote a letter about why that stuff was left there. It was just left for future generations to find. And so they added their own. I don't know what they put in the new ones.
Prohibition era candy.
I don't think you can put the same thing in twice.
What would you put?
What would I put in a time
What?
capsule?
Yeah.
What what am I like? Give me context. Like, am I doing this for what group
You're
of people?
renovating the hotel. You are the current manager at this hotel, and they say, "Hey, Eve, what would you put in the time capsule?"
The current register book. I would have the staff sign, maybe write something about their life or some kind of message that they would like to pass on. Like everybody, like all the staff sign a book like that. And then obviously the register book to just show who was there. Pictures, whatever item you feel like is important to you, maybe even jewelry. Candy is a good one because that changes throughout the years. Mostly writings, probably, like letters and explanation stories. What would you put?
I
Don't say
would
Beanie Baby.
put. I would not. No, not Beanie Babies. Not Labubus. Um, I'm gonna say that skeleton from your first story.
From mine, you're gonna go find that specific skeleton.
Yeah,
I
because
mean, it's in an
it's better than
outhouse.
an outhouse.
To be fair, yeah, I feel a bit sorry for that poor guy who I did know his name, but I wasn't going to do that story, so I don't know it. So let me see if I can find it. So we at least tell his name. That feels unfair. Poor guy.
Okay, so I did find his name. It was kind of buried in my notes because I had sort of written him off, but Joe Dawson. And actually, there was more to his story. He
Okay.
would so the bones were showing up in places, like the physical bones, but also like just the vision of him would kind of show up in ladies' rooms, like in the corner, or he'd like be walking behind them, like following them home. Yeah, those are just the stories I found about Mr. Dawson. He was a bit of a creeper, it looks like.
Wow. A little darker than I thought.
Exactly. Why do you think I chose the nice, happy Silverheels? But you had to go to this place.
I did, which is typical.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Stanley Hotel.
Okay. So the Stanley Hotel began in 1903 when Freeland Oscar Stanley stayed in the area of Estes Park for one summer to recuperate from tuberculosis. Apparently, it did such a good job of making him feel better that he said he was going to return every summer from then on. And he lived to the age of 91 and actually died of heart attack rather than anything lung related. So apparently,
Nice. So it did do a good job.
yeah, it did. So he and his wife Flora were kind of used to the more posh lifestyle, and they decided that they were going to build this really grand hotel there in Estes Park because of how much better he felt. And
I would like to become accustomed to the posh lifestyle.
apparently you have to invent like the Stanley steam car.
Okay. Okay. So I haven't invented anything. I was just going to put it out there. If someone is listening and would like to help me find the posh lifestyle, I'm
Did
willing
you
to have a
lose
conversation.
it? Have you checked your other shoes? Maybe your pocket?
I'm gonna keep looking.
Okay.
Maybe it's around here somewhere.
Look in the cupboards.
In the drawers.
That's
Under
right. Under the
the
bed.
dresser.
There you go. The hotel was actually a really nice, elegant place, and this is the early 1900s, and it had electricity and ensuite bathrooms and telephones in every room. There was a
Fancy.
full staff, like that wore little uniforms and everything. It was opened as a hotel and a health retreat for people with tuberculosis in 1909. That's when the main hotel and the concert hall were completed. And then the manor, which is the lodge next door, where single unmarried men stayed, was finished in 1910. It's a 140-room hotel, and it's near the entrance of the Rocky Mountain National Park, about 5 miles away.
Okay, I bet it's in a really pretty spot too then.
It is. It is. And to supply his hotel with power, Stanley led the construction of the Fall River Hydro Plant that brought electricity to the whole town for the first time.
Nice.
Yep.
So he was kind of a local hero.
I don't know how they viewed him. I mean, I guess some people would probably be like, "Yay, electricity," and others would be like, "Oh, all these fancy people from back east are in my neighborhood."
Okay.
So
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know I don't know how people felt about it, but that's what happened. So The Stanley Hotel actually contains 11 structures. So there's the main hotel, the concert hall, a carriage house, the manager's cottage, a gatehouse, and the manor or lodge. It was originally called the manor house. Now it's called the lodge.
Are they all still functioning?
They are.
Okay. What is the carriage house now?
I don't know.
Okay. But it exists. And it's
We'll
standing.
find out when we go.
Okay.
Yeah. They're all part of the National Register.
When we get introduced to the posh lifestyle, we'll go then.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. These are all part of the Stanley Hotel National Register Historic District. It's those 11 buildings, so they are all still there. Upon opening, the hotel was supposedly one of the few in the world that was entirely powered by electricity, but the lack of available power meant that they had to install auxiliary gas and lighting system in 1911. However, later that same month, which was in June, the day after the pipes had been filled, there was an explosion that occurred and injured the head of staff. The head, she was the, I guess, the lead maid. So it injured her, damaged the structure, and it injured several other people. Apparently, it actually, destroyed her ankles, and some things say that it, blew off her feet, but I don't think that's true because she lived for many, 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 many years after that and continued to work at the Stanley. So I don't think it actually blew away her feet.
I'm guessing she still had some feet. Yeah.
Yeah, probably still had feet. And then there was a terrace in the front of the hotel atop a semicircular retaining wall. And it was originally the driveway for the steam-powered wagons that brought guests to the hotel. But in 1983, this was made into a parking lot. And then in 1995, it was converted to a lawn and event area. But in 2015, they changed it into a hedge maze to honor the hedge maze scene in the Stanley Kubrick version of The Shining.
Ooh.
So it's now got a hedge maze, which is cool.
So it was not a maze before. They just added that in.
Yeah, it was a maze. It was not a maze. It was a maze in the movie. So they added it in 2015 to be a maze on the actual grounds. Speaking of movie. So in the 1970s, the hotel had fallen into disrepair, and Stephen King visited in 1974. He spent one night there in room 217, and he had a nightmare, or dream, as it were, that inspired him to write The Shining.
And they were all from his dream, or were any of the experiences that he had while waking?
Well, that's the thing. He says it was from a dream and from wandering around the hotel in the middle of the night and there weren't really any other guests there because all the other guests had left for the season. Because it was closed during the winter at that point in time.
An empty hotel had a creepiness to them, for sure.
Yeah, so it was just his wife and him and the staff. And so that's kind of creepy anyway. And he says it was a dream, but it happened in the most haunted room in the hotel, which we'll get to here in a little bit. So in addition to Stephen King, there have been several other famous visitors to the Stanley, including Erich Fromm in 1934, Bob Dylan in 1976, Emperor Akihito and Empress Michiko of Japan in 1994, and Jim Carrey and the rest of the cast from Dumb and Dumber in 1994.
Why were they there?
I think part of Dumb and Dumber was filmed there.
Okay.
I don't know. Didn't actually watch the movie. It's not really my thing.
It's okay to not see that movie. Don't.
Yeah. So let's get into talking about why it's considered one of the most haunted hotels in America.
Okay.
So we'll go to room 217.
Did he request that room?
I don't know. I don't know if he requested it or if somebody was just like, hey, let's put Stephen King in that room. But I don't know how famous he was in 1974 either. So I don't know.
And were there any reports before he stayed there?
Not that I could find.
Any indication that it was? Okay, so he just happened to end up in the haunted room.
He had been told to go there by locals.
Okay.
So I don't know whether he asked for it or if he happened to end up there or if the hotel staff decided to put him there. I don't know. It doesn't say. And so room 217, Elizabeth Wilson, who was the woman injured in the gas explosion, she has been reported to be seen in that room. She is said to pack the belongings of unmarried couples and single men and put their stuff outside of the door. Yep.
That's adorable.
Others have claimed that they have felt like they've been touched or tucked in, and that their luggage and other belongings have been moved, as in put away, and that their shoes have been neatly arranged.
Okay, that's nice. I want to be tucked in.
Yeah, she likes married couples.
Wait, what about the single women?
It doesn't say, so maybe she likes them too.
Okay.
Maybe she tucks them in too. I don't know. It says that some unmarried couples have felt a cold force wedged between them while they're trying to sleep. So she is really not here for this degenerate lifestyle.
Aww. That's too
Yeah,
bad.
she's like, nope, you guys, we're gonna put this force between you. Jim Carrey actually stayed in this room while filming Dumb and Dumber, and he had to be moved after only a few hours because he said he was terrified.
Oh no. So I guess he was staying in there alone and she was not about it.
I don't know if she did something or what happened, but yeah, that's he was terrified and wanted to be moved. So, in addition to room 217, Flora Stanley, the wife of the founder, she really, really loved the piano that her husband had bought her. And she will be heard playing the piano downstairs in the concert area. And if you ask her, she will play for you.
That's really cool. If people tested that?
People have tested it, and she will play for people if they ask her nicely.
Anything, or do you need to request a song?
I don't know. We'll have to find out when we go.
Yes, we will.
But it says that she will. She will play for people in the music room if she's requested to do so. I don't think it's like every time someone requests it because she's, busy after life. I don't know what she's doing.
Right, she's got stuff to do, and maybe she doesn't like
Right.
everybody that asks. She's not a jukebox.
Maybe not. She's not.
We have to respect her time.
We do. And be respectful of all things. So the fourth floor, it used to be the living area for female employees and their children. And people often hear children running, playing, and giggling out in the hallways. Others have said that they have seen and heard shadowy figures on the fourth floor. Clothing has gone missing and been found later folded in drawers.
Wait, whose drawers? Like in the same room, or are they moving it to different places? Because that's the kind of ghost I would be. I would fold your clothes. I would also put them in someone else's room just for fun.
It would be the kind of ghost you would be. Apparently they're nicer than you because they do put them in the drawers in your room.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So there's closet doors that open and close, and guests sometimes say that they wake up and find the door open and there's a child standing there in the doorway staring at them, but the kid disappears if they get up or call out.
Okay, well, that's spooky.
Yep. So on the fourth floor, room 428 seems to have the most activity. There are reports of heavy footsteps that move across the room and furniture being rearranged while people are asleep. There's also the ghost of a cowboy that's made himself known, and he surprises guests by appearing at the edge of their bed. There's no record of a cowboy dying in that room, but many people kind of believe he's the spirit of a guy named James Nugent, who was kind of known as Rocky Mountain Jim. And he's a local mountain man and explorer who's responsible for the town's founding. He was known to be a bit of a ladies' man, and his spirit is kind of said to gravitate towards female guests, and he will give them like ghost kisses in the middle of the night, which are cold and they are not, they don't want.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Also, a spirit in room 407 who is referred to as the Irishman. And they have, and he's known for unexplained light activity and shadowy figures, like playing with the lights. And then room 401, people report something touching them pretty often.
Something, or like a hand? Like, what do they think it feels like?
They don't really say, they just say they feel something touching them. So I don't know if it feels like an actual hand reaching out to grab them, or if it's like a poke or something brushing against them. It just says 401, they feel something touching them. So other spirits. There is a homeless girl who froze in the basement of the concert hall that people have reportedly seen down there.
No.
And that they've seen shadows pass through the walls in that area. In fact, shadowy figures passing back and forth through the walls is pretty much every area of the hotel. There are phantom parties that are thrown in the McGregor ballroom, so people hear music and laughter and like the kind of sound when you get a large group of people together talking, that kind of susurrus noise.
Yeah.
Spectral figures are seen often moving up and down the grand staircase, and there was even a picture of a little girl once taken on the staircase that was so clear that it made the news.
Was she dressed in clothing that really wasn't from now? Was she?
Yeah, she was dressed in like 1900s clothing. Not like 1996, but like early 1900, turn of the century clothing.
And she was clear enough to look like a person wearing a costume?
Yes.
Could it have been a person wearing a costume?
No. It's very clearly not a person that's actually there. You could kind of see through her, but it's pretty stark. And there was nobody actually on the stairway at the time.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. So in addition to these other spirits, there's a couple of very special spirits that I think we need to talk about.
Okay.
So the first one is Cassie. Cassie is a golden retriever, and guests have said that they have heard Cassie pawing at their doors to get in and flopping down to sleep beside them, and she sometimes delivers newspapers.
Like actual newspapers? You wake up and there's a newspaper by your bed?
Yes.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. In addition to Cassie, there's also Comanche, who is a fluffy white cat that wanders the hotel. He has been seen on the grounds. He has been seen on all of the floors of the hotel. He has been seen in the lodge. Comanche is a cat, and he does what cats do.
So where have those ghosts come from?
There's a pet cemetery on the grounds of the hotel. And I guess they belonged to some of the staff that lived there.
Aww.
People have said that they have felt Comanche like brushing against them, but I don't think he's quite as friendly as your ghost cat.
My ghost cat will just get right in bed with you. But apparently...
Yeah, that's Cassie.
Apparently one of your ghosts will too. He's just, a dude.
Well, I mean, there is Rocky Mountain Jim, but apparently Cassie will also sleep with you.
I will take Cassie over Rocky Mountain Jim.
I agreed. So, while some people say that they have had experiences in room 237, that room's activity is actually really just associated with the room in the movie and not something that anybody really experiences pretty much. It's just that it was room 237 in the movie, so people expect something to happen in room 237 at the Stanley, but there's nothing associated with room 237 at the Stanley. And it was actually 217 in the book, but they changed it from 217 to 237 because 217 was haunted, and they didn't want people going to the Stanley and asking for the haunted room from The Shining. And yeah, so they changed it between the book and the movie and reality. So now people say that they experienced things in room 237, but it was really 217 that everything was supposedly happening in. Yeah.
What is it that they are saying they are experiencing, though?
Usually it's just like nightmares or waking up with something looming over them, or being touched or having the bed cover snatched off of them or feeling uneasy. So stuff that you would like maybe typically associate with a haunting, but nothing specific to the Stanley. So that is the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado.
So they don't seem to lean into the haunting lore either. Maybe not.
They do.
They do. Okay.
They have tours.
Okay.
Yeah, they have tours. They lean into it.
Okay. Okay.
They were, they had to be, like, they've been completely renovated and everything else after The Shining came out because people wanted to go to the hotel again. So that's kind of where their bread is buttered a little bit. So yeah, they lean into it a bit.
I still think it's so interesting that mine made it a condition of working there that you have to not disclose should something happen.
Right? If nothing's gonna happen, why is
Why
it a
do you
condition?
say it?
Yeah.
So our next state is Connecticut.
Awesome. So do you have anything planned for Connecticut yet?
I have no plans as of yet. So if anyone is listening and knows something super cool to tell us about, you have our email and please let us know and I will be starting research. Do you have anything specific in mind yet?
I don't. I'm just really hoping that I don't mispronounce everything,
Right.
including Connecticut.
Including Connecticut. You can practice.
Yeah, I can practice. So we will see you next time, and thank you for joining us. Bye.